be able to see it. It says Sophie's Yard, which is a super great name. But this is what you'll see when you first go through the setup wizard. If some of you guys have already been through that, yours might start to look a little bit different if you've customized it slightly. But this is a super blank canvas that we're looking at now. My account that we're looking at right now also hasn't been unlocked, so I haven't made my first payment or anything like that. So there are a few features that are restricted because that's what you see when you first set up your account. What I will do at the end, if we've got time, is just quickly show you one of my other accounts that's got a little bit more data in it. So you can see some of the features that you can potentially turn on or off and what it starts to look like with a little bit of life behind it. So what we're looking at here is just the dashboard. So once you go through that wizard, you're on the computer and you've got those two sides to Site App Pro. So we've got the dashboard, which is the admin console that we're looking at right now. And then we've got the mobile app, which you download from your App Store or Google Play Store. And that's what you or your team will use to actually fill in the health and safety forms on site. So that's like your clipboard with your health and safety forms there too. The dashboard is mainly used for monitoring and checking that everything's working on site. So ideally you can go and take a holiday, go chill out somewhere by the beach. Your team's still working on site and you can have a look at the dashboard and make sure that your stats are still hitting 100% or there is activity on each site. You can also rearrange this dashboard. So say you guys don't use those scheduled forms, you can click on it and use the little settings icon here and drag things around so you can move it to customize. So if you don't use the schedule, I can drag that right down to the bottom and that'll get rid of that. You can see it's not there anymore. What you can also see is a few little graphs and stuff like that. So once you get a bit more data, you'll be able to see these buckets up the top start to have numbers in them. So when a toolbox talk's completed, that starts to liven up. As people complete forms or activities happen, this will start to make more of like an activity feed down on the side. And this graph here is awesome because it'll break down each individual site in your account and how much activity each site has had. So how many forms have been completed there. You can also monitor a few things, but I might jump back and show you guys that afterwards because at the moment it looks a bit sad without any data. So we'll build it up first and then get back to the dashboard. So what you have got here is a setup progress bar. I'm not sure if you can all see it depending on where my face is, if it's blocking you guys, but in the top right, there is a setup progress. You can always click on that if you need a bit of guidance. See, I've already downloaded my app, so it says that one's all good. It's then got the option to add suppliers, option to add equipment, and then of course, add the payment plan to unlock some of those cool features as well. If you are ready to do that side of it, or your account's still looking like it's in demo, all the account details are in the top corner here. So click on that one. You can see previous payments that have gone out in the payment history, or you can add those card details or even update and change them if you've had to change a card in that account button up the top there too. Awesome. So first point of call, just quickly jump into My Business when you're setting up. This is a 2-second exercise. But just scroll down here, you can add a logo to your account if you want your company's logo going on some of the reports that you might be sending out. And it also pops up in the top left corner here as well. If you add it, just add a bit of customization. You can then go down and add the business details. So you do add this when you go through the setup process, but if you do want to change anything, go down and change it all through here. You can also get like a summary report each week based off some of the stats in your account. So you can even set up your email address in here. Make sure you hit enter. It's got that little bubble so you know it's saved. And then you can just hit save there as well. So super quick exercise. Go through and add all those ones in there. We'll skip team and users for now, as I like to add that as the last step because it's good to have your account set up and good to go before you invite all of your team. I find that's the best onboarding experience for them. There's nothing worse than logging into an account and it's half set up and your staff are confused and you're still a bit confused. You want to make it as seamless as possible for your team so they start to love the app from the start. We have this suppliers page. This is optional for you guys. It's just there if you want to store any additional information, but it kind of works as like a contact list on the app. So if you've got suppliers that you guys use regularly, so say a group of contractors that don't use your health and safety app, or say you record deliveries that come in, or you have people that are external to your company that do the maintenance, you can add them in here. So you just simply click the plus button, click the little person icon there, and you can go through and add their details. So say we've got an external maintenance team, I'll go through and click services. Let's just be really generic and call it maintenance guy. Contact person is the head of that company, so pop that one in there, and any contact details. From there, you can add a lot more information, so address, notes, services they supply, so maintenance to, let's say, vehicles, any notes, and you can also attach resources against them. So say maybe they come in and do some maintenance, you could upload previous invoices or receipts here, further contact details, or maybe if they send off a report to conclude how the maintenance went, you could upload that there as well. That way it's all stored in the one place. The reason you would want to upload this is more for your team's point of view. So once it's added here, there's a suppliers tab on the app. And what that does is you can call or email the suppliers directly from the app. So if they something's gone wrong or they need to contact someone, they'll use this, as I said before, kind of like a contact list. It also has the ability to link into forms as well. So if you do a maintenance check on the app, you can select who your maintenance team was from your suppliers on the app, and it'll automatically appear based off who you've added in here. Again, optional if you don't want to use it. It's not a feature that you really need to, but it just helps a little bit too. Equipment's the next one that you can jump in here and add to. We've got some super exciting features that are coming into this one in our next release, so stay tuned for those. But at the moment, what you can do is either bulk upload equipment if you've got a Excel spreadsheet of it already. So if you do that, you can click bulk upload. Make sure you use our equipment template because it's set to work in with our categories in here. So you click on that one. It'll open up a Excel spreadsheet or CSV file, and then you can go in and copy and paste your equipment in there. Just make sure you have a read of this section here so that you have got the correct spelling and capital letters and typing of the categories, as it's super case sensitive. So just make sure you read this first so you've got the format right for the spreadsheet. You can always send it off to me as well if you've done it and you just want to make sure that you don't get it wrong. Just flick it to me and I'll have a quick little look over it too. If you don't want to bulk upload, you can either add equipment from there or up the top, click the little tool icon, and then same as that supplier form. So you'd go in here, add, let's do a vehicle, let's just go Toyota. We're just going to over vehicle here. You can go and add heaps of information. So serial number, that could even be like license plate or rego or things like that. Description, equipment category, we'll go vehicles, maintained by, and this will bring up a list of your service suppliers. So we've got that maintenance in here, and then how often you get this maintained. So whether you want to monitor if they're doing maybe their monthly vehicle checks, you could get a reminder every month to pop up to remind them to do those vehicle checks. Or if it's when you want to monitor it off when their WOF is due maybe, or their rego. And this is the part we're going to improve in our next release. So at the moment, it's just based off the one maintenance date. So let's say I get my WOF done every, let's go 18 months. Cool. The settings is based more off temperature control. So if anyone does do anything around temperatures and things like that, or there's a couple of form settings that can work with this one, we'll probably cover that in a different webinar, or message me personally if you want to learn a little bit more about this one, as it can get a little bit more complex, but it is there if you need to use it. You can then set their last maintenance date. So that refers to that 18-month schedule we just set. So say I just got mine in to be checked the 1st of December. I'll then get a reminder 18 months from that date to then do my next check. And just like suppliers, you can add resources. So say they go and get the maintenance, you could upload that here. Say there's equipment manuals, upload that here. Anything that's related to that equipment, pop it in there. Cool, so that one's now popped up and you can build your register from there. You can also export it too as well if that works too. The next thing, which is the most important, is the sites. So when you first set up SiteApp, you get a practice site because you need to have just at least one site that's set up. And what this is this is where all of your forms on the app are saved to. So from the app side, which I will show you in a second, what you do, first thing you do is select the site you're working on that day. So that way, when they fill in the forms, it's saved under that site. Then when you need to look at reports, you can filter it by a specific site that the team was working on, and so on. You can also add extra site information. So kind of like the supplier list, you can add anything the team might need to know about that site and it'll be stored on the app too. So you go in here, click that little plus button on the top left, and this will add the site. So just like the equipment and suppliers, you're just filling in the details for that one. So I'll go and pop the site name. So let's just say it is our Birkenhead site. Spelling would be good. There we are. Categories purely for your own purpose. So if you do want to sort them, so when you search for it, you can search for a specific category. That's completely up to you too. Active means that the site will show up on the app for your team to be able to select it. If it's not active, it won't show up on the app. Address is a really important one. You don't have to put this in, but I find it's awesome because it means you can utilize some of our geolocation tools as well. So if I click on 84 Macoya Road, sorry, my computer autocorrect came up before it, but a Google drop down appears and you can select your Google address. If you are working on quite rural sites or new residential areas where the addresses aren't yet added into the system or into Google, you can add in the latitude and longitude coordinates there as well. So that way you still get those geolocation features, but you don't have to link it with Google if it's not yet a thing. From there, add the information about that site that your team might want to look at from the app. So if there's a main site contact, you could add that in here, a project manager, safety manager. If you want to restrict this site from other people being able to access it, you can add a PIN number to it. So before they select the site, they have to pop in a PIN number. You could also, if there's someone external to the company or internal that doesn't use the admin console, you could pop their email address in here. Let's do this one. Oops. Hit enter. So that way, every time a form is completed on this site, I will get an email with the PDF copy of it. Probably going to take that one off because I don't want that one yet. Same thing from there, any extra notes, entry notes they may want to see, and things like that. So once you're done there, you just hit save and that site's saved. If you don't want to use the practice site, we recommend keeping this one when you first start the app. So when you fill in forms from the app, you just do it from that practice site, so you don't have to save data to a real site. Once you've done with your kind of trial, just simply hit delete. And once you delete it, it'll be gone. When you delete, they are just archives. So if you've got sites that you're working on, you want to delete, but then you have to go back and do maybe just a quick fix up, or the site reopens, you can include the sites from the archived, bring it back and work on it just as you did before. Cool. From here, we always recommend to jump onto the app to have a play around and really dive into the system from there. I'm going to see if my phone will share today. It is a little bit temperamental with this sharing app, but we will see how we go. I'm just going to go and share it like that. We will see. Yes, cool. Just flick a chat if you can't see the phone that's popped up, but you should all be able to see that one. I'm just going to quickly log out. So when you first log into the app, this is what you see. So download SiteApp Pro from your App Store or Google Play Store. It'll open this one up. Pop in the email address that you set up when you first went through the admin side, and then pop in your email, your password. If you forget your password, hit the forgot password button, or you got that reset email link and you missed the expiry of the 2 hours, hit forgot password and that will regenerate a reset password link for you. Perfect. From there, it gets you into that account. Is this the right one? Yeah, perfect. So what we can see here is these are my 2 forms that are scheduled to do today. With scheduled forms, this is all set up by default. So I'll quickly show you after this how to change the forms around. But what happens with the scheduled forms is you get one of these forms per that time period. So what you can see here is we've got a risk assessment and a pre-start. So say I click on my pre-start. We'll do this one as a team because we get one of these per site per day. So I'll go who's on site today. This will come up with a list of your staff. Has everyone got the correct PPE? Yep. Does everyone have the correct training? Yep. Has anything changed since the last risk assessment was completed? No. You could even go through and add a photo to that question if you want to take a photo of the team that are on site, or maybe the risks that you might see in front of you. You can add that. Or if anything's happened, you can click those little 3 dots. You can add an additional note or an action to task someone to do something from there. If you want more information on those notes and actions, just let me know. We cover that a little bit in some of the other webinars too. Blue notes, again, are like those notes and actions. You can add those to any form here, and the admin can be set up to be notified if one of those have happened. From there, click Save Final. Your list of all of the staff will pop up from there, so you select the name, and then you just pop in the 4-digit PIN code. That signs off the form. That 4-digit PIN code is something that's set up when you first log into the app on your phone. They get the option to set that up themselves. Now you can see that form's completed for today. So that's why you only use this if you work in a team. So say you've just got like one team on a site or one person on a site and they do a pre-start all together. If you need everyone doing individual pre-starts on their own on one site, then you'll need to unlock your account and use the check-in and out feature, which I'll show you how to do at the end of the webinar. And the check-in and out feature allows you to have a pre-start per person per site. Whereas if you've got multiple people trying to complete this one, say I log it first, someone else comes onto the site after and tries to do a pre-start, they'll click on the same form and they'll see all of my answers. If they then fill it in, they'll override my form. So it's best to use that check in and out feature if you've got multiple people doing pre-starts on the same site. Same with that risk assessment. Again, one person to complete it on that site. You can go down, add your risks, add the impact, rate the risk, add the control measures, and then rate the impact that it is now. So you can go through and do that one. There's also these other scheduled forms. You've got weekly forms. You'll see we've got a weekly toolbox here. So once a week, they'll jump into this tab. They'll go and select this toolbox and they'll do it as a team. Again, one form per week per site. There's also monthly forms. So this one's got a general site workplace assessment checklist that you can do once per month. To select your site, that's usually the first thing you'll do. You'll select this site up the top here. Click on it. The site you're closest to pops up at the top if you've turned your location services on and if you got that address right when you set up the site. And that'll pop up at the top for your team to be able to select the site and then save the information to that site. If you want to find the rest of your forms, or say you don't want to use the check-in pre-starts or the scheduled, you can just work purely off ad hoc forms, and that's what this orange plus button is here. So if I click on that one, this loads a library of all of your forms in your account. As you can see here, I've favorited some of the forms that I use the most. They pop up at the top, and that's just done by clicking the star icon. But this is just a list of heaps of forms. So when you open them each time, you get a fresh form. Say an incident's happened, you can scroll down here, go and click on the injury register, fill in the form, and it automatically saves to that site. To go back, just hit the back button. Oops, I clicked the wrong button. There we are. And from there, that form will still be saved. So if you want to go and look at all the saved forms on this account or on this site, you'll make sure you're on the correct site. Click the menu icon. You can see there's a few different tabs to look through. So you'd get that supplier information here. You'd see the equipment you've added. You'd see the site information that you're on, but you can also see the saved forms. So now I can see that pre-start that I completed earlier is just in here with all of that information added if I want to edit it. Cool, so that's the app side of it. What I will quickly show you is if you do unlock your account, we'll just jump into this one. I'll just show you the form side of it. So once you've had a really good play around on the app, you might go, hey, I don't actually use these health and safety forms, or mine are a bit different, or I don't just have one person on a site that fills in a form. I need to change that schedule a bit. So you'll jump down to the forms page. From here, this shows you all of the forms in your whole account. So you'll see that you've got the form name across here. You've got the schedule. So if they show up on that this month, this week, or today tab on the app, you can then jump in and edit them or change the schedule. So let's say we have a look at that pre-start, for example. I'll click on the pencil icon to open it. And this opens the back end of the form. Just so you know, we also have a pure form building webinar that I've done in the past. So if you do want a recording of that, let me know and I can send that off to you. And it'll give you a bit of a deep dive, but just very briefly, you can change the schedule here. So if you want it to just be ad hoc, so it's not just restricted to one person filling it in, change it to none. You can scroll down to form design, click on the questions, change answer types, drag it all around to move the order of the form. And you can even add more questions into the form if you want to add a bit more information and add it on here. Are you feeling well today? Change the answer type to yes or no. So super simple, but again, if you want more information on the form building side, let me know. But yeah, best to then do form building. Final step from there, once you've got all those forms ready, you've jumped back on the app, had a play around with how to work on the day-to-day, then you add in those team and users. So go to team and users, same as the equipment and suppliers, click the plus button, add a user with a login. So that's if you're using, if everyone's using their own mobile device, set up a user with a login so they get their own email address and password to log into the app. If you're just using like a team tablet per se, you'll be able to set up one login for that tablet so that device has its own login, and then just set everyone up as a staff member from there so they don't all need their own email address and password. Just so you know, if you do it that way, only users have the ability to use our check-in and out feature. So the check-in and out mainly works best if you're using all your own phones. If you're using a tablet, the check-in and out feature won't work as well. Click the user, you'll pop email address and password in there. You're able to select the role. So field worker and contractor is restricted to the app only. Admin is obviously everything. Manager is everything apart from payment details. And verifier is a slightly restricted access to. First name and last name, and then any additional details you might want to add. We've also got a couple of user notification options as well that you can pop into. Cool, so that is the pretty much start to finish from how to set up your account. If you get stuck at all, we've got this help button here. It's got heaps of videos, heaps of articles, heaps of setup information. And there's also the ask button that can either open up a chat if we're live online, or it can just jump through to an email. And it's either me or some people from the support team, and we get back to you super quickly. So don't feel like you're going to be waiting a day for a response. But what I'm going to show you just to finish off is a live account that is unlocked. So once you unlock your account, it'll start to look a little bit like this. You'll see the site names start to build up down by the side. You'll see a bit of activity on each site. You'll also then start to see a few certificates and permits, which is added when you add those resources that have been attached. You'll see a bit of progress in that activity stream, and you'll also see that reports tab is unlocked once you've unlocked your account as well. So that means you're able to export all of your reports, get all of that information out, and have a good look into all of it too. Final thing I'll add is if you did want to look at that check-in feature, once you've unlocked your account, jump down to My Business and just make sure that one's turned on as well. So scroll down here, click the turn on check-in feature, log into the app, and then have a play around with how that one works as well. Awesome. So that is your very hard and fast intro into from the start and to the finish of setup. I've just seen there's a couple of questions that have come through, so I'm just going to quickly read those. Oh, it looks like I already answered it. Perfect. I'll just make sure I have properly, will each staff member get an email address allocated to them? Oh yeah, perfect. So a couple of common questions that do come up is around users. So when you unlock your account, you choose how many users you guys are going to use. So users are mainly, you get an email address per device. So everyone who's using SiteApp on their own phone will need their own user, and that gives them their own email address and password to log into the app. You don't have any restriction on how many per user role. So there's not only one admin, you can have as many admins as you like. It's just however many you need to log into this admin side and have a look into what's going on site. So you don't want to give it to everyone, but best to just restrict it down to the few people that get to look into this data and use it on the day-to-day as well. One thing I really recommend is just to make sure that the site's really good and set up before you go and show it to all of your team. So make sure, you know, you've had a few test runs with you and maybe the site manager or anything like that. So you know that it's working for how you guys want it. That way you can have a quick meeting with your team, show them how to use the app, get them into it, and it's all up and running really quickly. Perfect. I've just seen there's another couple of questions come up. Cool. So is there any dashboard customization specific to the login, or does everyone in the company see the same dashboard? So great question. What happens is when you log into this dashboard, it is the same for everyone. As I showed at the start, the only real customization you can do is just dragging it around and changing the order of how it appears. And that, I believe, is per login. So if I decide to move this activity counts down to the bottom because it's not relevant to me, that shouldn't show on another user's login. Theirs will show a fresh one. From there, though, everyone who has access to the app will see the same thing. Everyone who has access to the admin will see the same thing. So there's nothing restricted in terms of forms or data from that point of view. The only thing that's slightly restricted from the app side is like troubleshooting forms and staff information. So what it does ask is if you're trying to edit as troubleshooting forms, so things like incidents, near misses, or anything like that, or staff training, it does ask you to pop your PIN number in before you have a look at it. And that just means that the app's having a check to make sure that you're either an admin or a manager or the staff member that actually filled in that form who's going back in to edit it. Otherwise, you know, just another user, if they're trying to be nosy or look at what's going on, they won't be able to go in and access that form. So that's the main sort of restriction on the app. I hope that answered your question. Cool. Can you add sites through the mobile app just in case they go to a job and the job's not there yet? Yes, you definitely can. That is restricted to, like I was just saying before, admins or managers. So you do need that admin PIN number to be able to access it. But I've just shared my phone. So what you do is you go up to those three lines in the top left corner. You'll go down to sites. So if I click on that, the site information appears. If you do use that check in and out feature, you will be able to see check-ins up the top, just a little tip, and that'll show you everyone who's currently checked in right now on site. So say something happens and you're, you know, doing a bit of an emergency evacuation or even just a test run, you can click on that and see everyone who's checked in right now. And that'll give you a list there. Just keep in mind, it is an app. So if they did check in and they are running offline or anything like that, it wouldn't have come through. That's the kind of only disclaimer we've got around that one. But it is a really awesome tool to use if you use the check-ins. But back to the question, if you want to check in, click that, if you want to add a site, click the orange plus button on the sites page. And just like how I was saying for those restricted forms, it'll get you to sign off to prove that you're an admin or a manager to be able to add those sites. So you'll go and select your name from the list, enter your 4-digit PIN code, and then you'll be able to set up a site from there. So pop all the details in. Once you've done that, it'll take you back to this diary page and it'll have a fresh site there for you. We are also improving that slightly in our next release. So if you don't really want to give someone an admin access or a manager access, but you need them to be able to add sites, we've got a slight little workaround. We've got a slight user role that'll give them the ability to do that. But if you do want people to have that ability, let me know, and we've got a little workaround for the meantime anyways, and I'll be able to show you how to do that. So flick me an email and I'll help get that set up for you. Cool, awesome. Are there any more questions before we jump off for today? Just pop them in now. If not, please don't hesitate to flick me an email if you get stuck. Sweet, Regan, I'll flick you that workaround at the end of this one. But yeah, flick me an email. There's nothing worse than just sitting there and thinking it's too hard or it's stuck or you don't think it does what you need it to do, because most of the time you can customize it to suit you guys. So just flick me an email. I'll be able to jump in and give you a hand from there. So please don't hold back on that side. At the end of this, I do send out a little survey that happens when you leave the webinar. So please, if you have 2 minutes, just answer that, because the more we know from you guys, the better we'll be able to make it to suit you guys as well. But yeah, we'll be doing another webinar in a month's time that'll be based on a different topic. But as I said at the start, if you need to see this again, just watch the rerun that we'll send out probably tomorrow morning, or flick me an email if you got those questions. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great rest of the day, and I'm sure I'll chat to you all soon. See ya.